We're back. We are Sports Take. He is Throwing the Shields. I'm Rob Ellis, hanging out with you on this Tuesday, January 2nd. Hope you had a great
Rob,
New
I got a
Year.
question for you, man.
Yes, sir.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I love the way you intro the shows, by the way. I love the way you intro the segments. You always do a great job, man. But I gotta ask you something, man. I like the stumble. I like the shadow, man. You ever thought about letting it grow out a little bit?
So here, there's two things, right? It was, everybody says this and people are like, it wasn't planned. So here's what happened. So I'll generally shave 2 or 3 days a week, so give or take, right? Depending on the week.
Okay.
So last week I was doing the morning show for WIP, which means you're up at like 3:50 in the morning and you're rolling out early, etc. I'm like, I'm showering, but I'm not shaving on that early. Right. So I had that going on and I'm like, forget it. I just bagged it last week. And then I totally forgot I was going to shave yesterday and I just forgot. Honestly, I'm telling you the truth. And now today I'm like, you know what? Let's see where we go with this thing for a little while. The only problem is, Tone, it's too gray, man. It's too gray. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you,
don't
man.
think? All right.
No, man.
Right.
You gotta be on your Ron White stuff, man. Just let it grow. Just let it grow, man. I'm telling you, you're gonna look distinguished.
I might go with it. We'll see, but I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I like the clean look that you got going on, man. Looking good.
Man, it's so funny. Just so you know, there's a man with a beard is always a man with a plan. I'll tell you that right away.
I like that.
Just think about that. Okay. Listen,
all right.
Any movie you watch, pay attention who has the plan. It's always the guy with the beard. It's always the guy with the beard. And as far as this shaved head, man, listen, I'm on my Bane, man. I feel like Bane every time I cut it off. I feel like Bane. I feel like I was born into the dark. You know what I mean? So,
yes.
But no, man, I like it. It's new for me. It was a new thing I took on moving to Texas. And I say, you know what? I'm just gonna just shave it all off. Hairline was betraying me anyway. So I said, you know what? Let's just go all in on the beard and just.
I like it, dude.
Lock in,
I told you the first time you did it, I liked it as soon as I saw it, man. So
remember I told you, man, though, keep the beard. A guy with the beard is always a guy with the plan.
I'm in, man. I'm getting a lot of Silver Fox in the chat.
Yeah, man. Be a Silver
Logan. Yeah, Silver Fox. I like it.
I follow this Instagram page called Silver Fox. I think it's called Silver Fox Gang. Basically, it's a bunch of older guys that are, that take really good care of themselves. Yeah. It's kind of motivation for me as I get older. You know what I mean?
I like it. I got to get on that, man.
They stay fly, beards gray, suited up, booted up. I'm telling you, man, the Silver Foxes, they're in.
All right, done. You convinced me, man. Somebody said playoff beard. I hope so. I hope I'm growing this thing for a while, man. At least another month or so or whatever. All right, so I was digging around a little bit today, and I started looking at some things, Tone. I'll start on the defensive side of the ball, and then hop over to the offense. All right, so let's just do a little compare and contrast, okay? So this year they have 41 sacks with 1 game left compared to 70 last year. That's a massive
drop
off. Yeah. Okay.
But even 70 was like unheard of at that time, right. So it was like, even I expected like 55 sacks this
55 is a good number. I was just going to say the same thing. Like, that's what it is. That's still really good. 41 is middling at best and totally not acceptable. Like, for example, okay, Sweat last year had 11. He's got 6.5. So his productivity is almost dipped close to half, not quite.
Mm-hmm.
Reddick had 16 last year. He's got 11 this year. Not that 11's bad, but you go from 16 to 11. It's 5 less right now. Granted, they do have 1 more game. Fletcher Cox went from 7 to 5. I mean, Fletcher's been really good. He's not a guy I would come down on, honestly.
Yeah. And also, by the way, for context, the league leading team in sacks is the Ravens, and they had 57. So, the Eagles right now, they're in the lower half of the league with 41.
Yes.
So it's a huge drop off. They're in the room with the Jets and the Raiders and the Packers and the Falcons on, as far as, sack counts, right?
Right.
But Ravens, Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, Dolphins, they're the only 4 teams in the league with 53 or more total sacks on the season, with 50 or more sacks.
I mean, I expected them to be in the top 5.
Yeah, exactly. I expect to be in the top 5 minimum.
Yeah. And the other one is, and we love him. What's not to love, man? But Brandon Graham went from 11 to 3. And I know he has limited snaps. It's a little bit understandable, but still, his snaps were pretty limited last year too. The production just hasn't been there.
Yeah, 11 last year was actually a miracle when you think about it in the long run, because like you said, he had limited snaps last year. Just to put it in context, Brandon Graham last year, from a snap count perspective, he was on the field 43% of the time on defense with 474 total snaps. This year, that 43% has dropped to 33% with 365 total defensive snaps. So he's been on, so far through the season, he's been on the field about 100 snaps less than he was last year. So I mean, a lot can happen in 100 snaps, right?
Sure.
So they definitely haven't given him an opportunity to, to add on to what he did last year. But I guess in all fairness to him, only being on the field for 33% of the snaps, 365 total snaps, and you come away with how many sacks you said? He has
BG has 3.
Has 3 in the season. I mean, it's kind of, I can't really kill him, because even at this point in his career, if he's giving you 6 sacks, 7 sacks a season, that's great.
Oh, it's awesome.
Right. So I just don't think he's been having the opportunities.
Yeah, Ian says, well, he was cut in the previous season. He was. I guess he's saying he was well rested due to an injury. Yes and no.
That's a good point. He tore the Achilles in week 2 of 2021. So he rested that whole season, and he came in 2022 with just this reserve. So that's a good point.
It is. It's fair. I mean, but you all are also rehabbing off an Achilles, which is a lot too at an older age for him. But no doubt. I mean, the sad thing is, this is probably his last year as an Eagle. If he wants to keep playing, it won't be here, I don't think. And that's a shame. You're losing just an unbelievable human being.
Yeah.
But
if there was a season to have the fall off, you would have thought it would have been last year, coming off the Achilles. But he came back like gangbusters, and that, you rarely see guys at that age come back with that level of intensity.
True.
And that level of production with the limited amount of opportunities. Last year was just a magical year, which goes back to the fact that we talk about how this year is so damning because last year didn't end the way it was supposed to go.
Right.
They were so close. That's what makes this year so darn damning. Because it's like you were so close then, and now you're even further away.
And now you've gone the other way.
Right. And teams have gotten better.
Yes.
The Rams have gotten better. The Lions have gotten better. Lions have gotten better. The Niners and the Cowboys, they've gotten better. So it's like, damn, we've gotten worse. Everyone else has gotten better. What's the natural law of motion at that point?
Yeah, agreed. All right. So, and I started with the defensive line for a reason, because I think they've let them down more than any other, part of that defense, any other unit. They're also toned 30th in third down efficiency in defense. So they're third to last in the league. Opponents are converting at 46.5% against them. That's been a problem all year. It's the reason why they were, the Cardinals held the ball for 19 more minutes, why they had all those long drives. You can't get off the field, and it's been an issue all year for these guys, man. So, and that's a large part of that is pass rush. Large part of that is you don't cover well. Okay. The other thing is 2022, they had 27 takeaways. This team has 17. They have 10 less than they had all of last season. They rarely intercept the ball. They had a big play on Sunday, but if we're being totally real, it's a miscommunication between Kyler Murray and his receiver. Now, Sidney Brown made
the receiver was open. He just threw it to the wrong. It was a wrong read.
You're right. Now, Sidney Brown made the most of it, no doubt. But it's that happened. But it's so rare that happens for this team, where they take the ball away, that it's the point where it's absurd. So you're not getting sacked. Oh, by the way, the edge rushers have 0 sacks in the last 3 weeks since Patricia took this over. Not one. Okay. Part of that is you're dropping Hassan Reddick into coverage 10 times against the Cardinals. But I'm not excusing those guys either. They need to get home, but you don't have one. All your stuff's come from the interior. Fletcher got one, Jalen Carter got one, and Shaq Leonard got one, your linebacker. But your edge guys have none in the last 3 games. That's terrible. I mean, totally unacceptable.
They haven't been doing a good job with the edge guys this year. The fact that Hassan Reddick has the sacks he has is remarkable. but they have not gotten the production out of the edge rushing position like they thought they would. They haven't gotten, excuse me, they haven't gotten the production from Nolan Smith that they thought they would like. Granted, he wasn't really getting that many snaps earlier on, and now they're expecting him to just come in and just be a difference maker. Not fair to him. Obviously, we haven't gotten the level of production out of Brandon Graham that we would like. Josh Sweat. All things considered, Hassan Reddick is having a down year, even though he has double-digit sacks. It's still a down year for him.
It's a good year, but it's not as good. It's not as good.
Exactly. If anything, you can make an argument that this season is a regression to the mean, because in 2020 he had 12.5 sacks. 2021 he had 11 sacks. 2022 was the 16 sack year, and if you want to consider the additional sacks he had in the playoffs, he ended the season with 19.5 sacks on the season, basically huge. 20 sacks. If you count the playoffs, and then now he only has 11. So Lord knows how many he'll get in the playoffs, but right now it's actually a regression to his actual production. Last year was the true anomaly. Overall, though, the defensive line has been underwhelming, and I've tried to give them a pass. We talked about them several weeks in a row, and you know me, Rob. I've tried to throw them breaks because they haven't gotten the production out of the linebacker crew, or the DBs haven't been able to hold up for longer than 2.5 seconds. I've done my best to try to cover for these guys, but ultimately, I just don't see a team I don't see a defensive line that's effective anymore. They're not stopping the run. They're not getting to the quarterback. So what are they at this point?
They're a team that is going backwards fast, and there's no answers. Doesn't matter if it's Patricia or Desai or anybody else. They don't have answers to try to fix it. That's one of the biggest issues. Now let's go to the secondary. Look, it's hard to even really portray this statistically, but James Bradbury's been horrible. He's got one interception. I don't know how else to say.
I don't know why that just made me laugh.
It's not a stat, but it's just
he's been horrible.
Horrible.
He's been terrible. He's been radioactive.
So he's got one pick on the season. He's got 12 pass defense, and he's the guy they go after every week. He's the guy they pick on, and it's no lie.
Isn't that a shame? They pick on your vested veteran.
Well, think about it. Right now, you're in a situation where they're going after Bradbury, and you don't have Slay. It's like you're just suckers, man. You just got bullseyes pointed on you. And in turn, what ends up happening is you're throwing guys out there who aren't ready. Eli, and I think there's potential with Ringo and Ricks and a couple of these guys, but they're out there learning on the job, which means you're seeing mistakes made, which they're thinking but instead of reacting, which is only natural for a young guy. And it's like a perfect storm for the Eagles, because you were counting on the veteran guys. That includes Maddox, who just came back, and I haven't heard anything on the arm yet with him, but he can't stay on the field. Slay's banged up. Bradbury's been terrible. You brought in guys like Roby, who were okay, but there's a reason why Roby wasn't on a team, and you've tried to get by with it. And you couple that with the fact that you're not getting a pass rush, and teams are just killing you in the air.
This defense is going to be in trouble for the next few years, unless they find a way to hit in the draft and they bring in a couple free agents in certain spots. I don't know what the plan's going to be. I don't know what the cap flexibility is going to be. I haven't looked into it recently, but they have to hit in the draft.
For Bradbury, it's major. It's like 29 million.
Well, I mean, just in general, how much money they're going to have to play with, right? So they're going to have to hit in the draft. Those draft picks from the past couple of years on defense, they're going to have to start hitting. They're going to have to hit on guys in this upcoming draft on defense. This defense is going to be very young, very young going forward, and I want Eagles fans to prepare themselves for that. They're going to be very young, and I think this is a time. I'm willing to. This may sound crazy, but I want you, Eagles fans, I want you to ride with me with this and tell me what you think. At this point, I'm willing to just ride with. I'm willing to ride with having the youngest defense in the NFL. I'm willing to ride with that narrative or ride with that situation, because and have, of course, if Fletcher Cox wants to come back, I'll bring Fletcher Cox back, right? Certain guys,
Right.
but for the most part, I'm ready to cut ties with Bradbury. I'm ready to cut ties with Darius Slay. I'm ready to move on from Kevin Byard. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on from BG.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If he wants to stay and they find a place for him, okay, he can't hurt us. But my point is, I'm ready for this defense to get younger. I'm ready for them to get hungry again. I'm ready for the next crop of guys. I'm ready for the next generation of leaders on this defense, because I think it's about time we start turning that page. I think they've held on a little too long to trying to use the OGs, the Fletcher Coxes and the BGs as the motor or the lifeblood of the defense. And I think it's time these young guys start really, producing, and we find out exactly what this defense is, and just start out with the young guys in week 1 and find out how good they can be. But about time week 17, week 18 come next season, I'm ready to go balls to the wall with the young defense.
Yeah, I think it very well could be heading that way. The one other thing that I would add, Tone, is they're extremely slow. They become a very slow football team, especially.
And that's another reason why I say they're slow, Rob. They're slow. Yeah. They're flat-footed. They got to get younger on that side of the ball. They got to get more speed back there, at the DB position. Mm-hmm. I'm ready to go balls to the wall with a young defense that's just learning on the fly. They're going to be way more coachable, way more moldable. You could sprinkle. You can sprinkle some veterans in there, right? Mm-hmm. A veteran D lineman, maybe a veteran linebacker there or whatever. But as far as the back end, especially my DBs, mainly back there, I'm ready to go young. I'm ready for Ringo to be out there full time. Yep. I'm ready for whoever they draft in the first round to be out there full time at corner, because I think they're going corner in the first round this year. I'm ready for them to go super young at safety with Reed Blankenship and maybe another guy, Sidney Brown. I'm just ready for a new crop of guys so I can at least find out what they are in a full sample size of a season.
Let me ask you about a young guy, because let's transition to linebacker now. Last year we know what they had. They had good players there. They had TJ Edwards. Kaiser White didn't have a great finish to the year for sure, but they were really counting on Nakobe Dean this year. Kobe didn't play well and he got hurt. So it's a kind of a double whammy. You brought in Zach Cunningham, who's been fine, by the way. Nicholas Morrow, who's been hot and cold, to kind of fill the void here with these guys, among others they've rolled in there. What do you do with Dean next year? Can you count on him, or do you have to draft or acquire somebody, and then if he shows you he can play, great, but you can't count on him for next year? Where do you stand with that?
That's a great point, a great question, because we don't know how good or bad he is.
No,
he can't stay on the field long enough.
Right.
We don't have a solid 10-game stretch where we can say, okay, this kid could play this. It's 4 games there, 5 games, 3 games. He can't stay on the field, so it's so hard for me to even put my chips on his table. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's so hard for me to, to bet on that. If he can't stay healthy, then what's the point? You know what I mean? What's the conversation? If he can't, so far he's proven he can't stay healthy. He's been on IR twice this season.
Right. And that was the biggest concern.
Right. That was the biggest concern. Yes, that was the biggest concern when he got drafted. That was the biggest concern in the offseason, where he tweaked his foot. And then he hurt something else, and I think he hurt his foot in week 1 or week 2, and then hurt his foot again. And then you got Nolan Smith with the janky shoulder.
Right.
I
know. Like, the shame of it is it's too soon to write either off, especially Smith. He's a rookie. It's going to take you a minute to get acclimated.
Yeah, I'm not ready to write off Nolan Smith at all.
It's just hard, because how much can you put into those guys for next year? I don't know. I really don't know. Matt Patricia meeting with the media, Tone, said, first off, before he even answered a question, not good enough, in reference to the defense. And then he said the Cardinals took advantage of some of the issues that the Eagles have in their run defense fits. Look, there's a lot to dive into with that. I'll give you more as he says it, but yeah, I don't know what you end up doing. He said, Not good enough performance starts with me. We have to be able to stop the run. We have got to get that handled. Okay. I feel like we've been hearing that for a long time, even before Matt Patricia got into this thing.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us something we don't know.
I know, right?
But you know, back to your original point about the young guys and the Kobe Dean, I just don't know what to make of him as a player.
Right.
And I don't think I'm off base or wrong or even being unfair in saying that. I think it would be unfair if I said, "Oh yeah, he's a bust. He's terrible." That's unfair.
No, yeah, too soon.
I can't. The year one, he wasn't on the field at all. Year two, he can't stay healthy enough to be on the field. So what is he? At what point? At what point do we say, okay, this guy's just not the answer?
Yeah.
Because we're never going to find out if he can't stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So this defense, again, you sprinkle some veterans here and there, but I'm ready to go young. So at the very least, you can say, well, they're a young defense. They're figuring it out. At least you can say that.
It's true. That's true.
But, you know, again, when you're young, you're more coachable. You know, there's a fire in your belly. You know, you're playing fast.
Yep.
You know, they got to get faster back there. They have no speed.
Oh, there's no question about it. All right, let's look at some of the big numbers here. So 2023 defensively, Tone, they're giving up 25.1 points per game, which is 29th. 29th. Last year, they gave up 20.2 points per game, which was tied for 6th. Fewest. I'm talking, fewest points per game. So they're giving up 5 points more per game. Just a massive leap. Okay. This year, they're 11th against the run. Remember, for the first 8 weeks, they were number 1 against the run, but they're 11th now, giving up 103.1 on the ground. Last year, they gave up 121.6. They were tied for 16th. That's the one area where they're better than they were last year. But they have been careening backwards against the run. Here's the one. Here's the big boy. So this year, they're giving up 249.4 yards per game in the air, 28th. Last year, 179.8 first. So they're giving up 49, 21, about 70 more passing yards per game in the air and 5 more points. Yeah.
I don't even remember what it looks like to have a top passing defense. That's how bad this year has been. I don't even remember what it looked like.
It was the perfect combination of pass rush and guys who could cover. I mean, you could cover last year. You would take the ball away last year, a novel concept. But that kind of stuff happened last year where it doesn't happen. And I think they knew they were going to take a little bit of a hit on the back end. But I also thought that they thought that their defensive line was going to be so good that it wouldn't be awful. Like it would be a little bit worse, but not terrible. Right. And instead, their D line has become mediocre at best. And maybe I'm being kind. It might be worse. And their overall defense, and it's time we stop talking about, hey, they're just not as good. No, this is a really, really, really bad defense all around.
Yeah. Really they're arguably the worst defense in the NFL. You know, any given Sunday, you take your pick, right? But they're arguably always in the running for having the worst defense of the week. They're always in the running.
Yeah.
Never a place you want to be. So, you know, when we look at this team and we say, okay, how far can they go into the playoffs? Part of you wants to say, oh, yeah, they can turn it around. But then you always got to go back to that defense and say, wait, can they get a stop, though, when they need it?
Right.
That's what the playoffs is about, getting that stop. You know, sometimes offense just needs that one stop, and your offense could be humming, right? You could be in a shootout.
Yeah.
And offense is humming. They scored on every drive, but they need you to get that one stop because they didn't have the ball first.
Right.
So they need you to get that one stop or hold that team to that field goal. You don't even trust the Eagles to do that. You can't. You know what I mean? Like, I'm ready to pull the cord on this defense. I'm ready to off everybody. I'm ready to find a trade partner for Darius Slay, find a trade partner for James Bradbury. I'm ready to find a trade partner for I'm ready to do whatever.
Of all, good luck with that. Good luck with a trade partner for Bradbury. Do you think there are two? I'm talking about even now, and this includes Patricia. Do you think there's two new coordinators?
Yes.
I do too.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I do.
And that's like, to me, that's such a bad, like, I think it's justified because they did a bad job and, it didn't work for either guy. But It's such a bad look too for the head coach. Like when you start bouncing coordinators all over the place, it's such a bad look. It's such a sort of, even though Nick's not doing this, it's like a finger point move. It's like, it's not him, not me, it's them, and I know he's not saying that, but that's the way, that's the, the impression that you get from it.
But if it's Nick Sirianni's game plan, like he says,
yeah,
what difference is changing the OC do?
And or organizational philosophy of continuing to play the Vic Fangio thing,
right?
Where it's bend don't break, where you don't give up the big play. What difference does it make who's calling the shots?
Right. What difference does it make? We can. That's another thing about this stuff that seems so fatalistic. No matter what we do or suggest from a hiring standpoint, at the end of the day, they still have their philosophies that they believe in. So we're actually banking on, or we're hoping that this front office, this ownership group, we're hoping that they somehow see the writing on the wall and realize that there's an error in their approach to how they want to win football games. There's an error. There's an error in it.
Yeah.
Every game is not going to be this passing, bonanza, right? That's not how this league works, right? Yeah, you want a competent passing offense in the league. That's what you want. You don't need to have the number one. Like, first of all, typically the guy with the most passing yards doesn't win the Super Bowl.
No, it means you're trying to come back in games.
Right, exactly. So
yeah.
Like to have this obsession with this high-powered passing offense and this bend but don't break defense, it's a farce. It's a foul. It's just not realistic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Defense, you're always reactive and not dictating the action. And offense, you're trying too hard to force the issue instead of just taking what they give you. Yeah. Molding whatever is happening on game day to what molding what you need to do to whatever's happening on game day, right? Taking true advantage of an opponent's weakness instead of just relying on analytics to tell you, hey, the numbers are saying we should do this, so this is what we're going to do. Listen, you can never remove the feel out of sports. You can never remove the instinct, and that's what analytics partly does.
Yeah.
This team has relied too much on that, and it's why they are where they are. No one's really doing any real work in these buildings. They're just, hey, what are the number crunchers saying? Okay, all right, we're rolling with that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. All right, let's come back. Let's do a little offense. We'll look at the offensive side of the ball. We'll also dive into some other things. A little later, Tone, we'll get into the big games of the weekend, the games that still have playoff implications, some injury updates around the league, a lot of questions on who's going to play and who's not going to play this weekend for teams that have stuff wrapped up. So we'll get into all of those kind of things when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Tone DeShields, Rob Ellis, Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. All right, let's talk about Pro Action Restoration. Yes, Pro Action Restoration. They've been unbelievable with me. So I had water damage in the house. They came out, they fixed the problem, they cleaned it up, drywalled the ceilings, the wall, getting new carpet, hopefully next week, because I had a lot of issues, but they are handling all of it in conjunction with my insurance company. So if you have an issue with water, fire, smoke, mold on a property you own, your house, your business, whatever the case may be, Pro Action Restoration is on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist you. They are licensed, bonded, and fully insured, and they've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action will, again, work in conjunction with your insurance company, and that is huge. Water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, you name it, and then some, and they can handle it. So if you're not sure about something that's going on, just give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's pro